Once the birth rate numbers start dropping, I expect articles like this to be written. But the thing is, this country, this globe, it doesn't deserve the sacrifice that mothers bring. Mothers and children are not supported globally, but we can still look at this. I'm on team let the birth rate plummet to hell. These countries, these governments, these leaders in power, they don't do anything to incentivize women to actually have children. They just kind of be like, it's your duty to have some babies. But let's look at this article though. It says why U.S. policies like baby bonds and child tax credits can't convince Americans to have kids. Basically, it can't convince women to take on the sacrifices and the burdens of childbirth. The U.S. fertility rate is around 1.6. That is well below the 2.1 that they need to replace the current people that are here. Despite bipartisan proposals like baby bonuses and expanded child tax credits, experts say the problem runs deeper than economics. I agree. Cultural shifts, high cost of living, lack of paid leave, and delayed adulthood are all contributing to a national baby bust that may reshape the future of the U.S. economy. Okay, those are the talking points. Let's get into the fleshed out article. America's fertility rate is hovering around historic lows with approximately 1.6 births per woman over her lifetime. This is below the level needed to sustain the population, which is 2.1 births per woman. And I've seen it written that they want that to actually be a higher number, especially now as more women are just opting to have 0 babies. All right, it says our population will, in the not too distant future, start to decline, said Melissa Kearney, a professor of economics at the University of Maryland. That's why this is an issue for governments and for the economy and politicians to start paying attention to. The economic implications for a shrinking population are broad. For example, fewer births mean fewer future workers to support programs like Social Security and Medicare, which rely on a healthy worker to retiree ratio. So have some babies to support Social Security. The concern here in the U.S. is that if we see the kind of dramatic declines in fertility, we will eventually see also kind of a drag on our economy and our capacity to cover all sorts of government programs like Medicare and Social Security, said Brad Wilcox, a sociology professor at the University of Virginia and director of the Get Married Initiative at the Institute for Family Studies. Lawmakers from both parties have proposed various financial incentives to address declining fertility. They talk about fertility, but women are not having babies on purpose. It's not because their fertility is dropping. It's because they cannot incentivize women to have babies in this general climate. But let's talk about it. The White House is considering a lump sum payment of $5,000 for each newborn. According to the New York Times, we've definitely talked about that laughable amount. Last week, the House passed a massive tax and spending package that includes, among other provisions, a bigger child tax credit and the new Trump accounts with $1,000 in seed money for newborns, as they are gutting social safety nets. They are gutting social safety nets that will impact if there's even going to be rural hospitals, if there's even going to be doctors and nurses in these hospitals. So these people are gutting things, but they're saying, have more babies. All right, it says, however, Kearney said such policy measures are unlikely to meaningfully affect long-term fertility trends. I think the kind of financial incentives or benefits that we're providing just really aren't enough to really change the calculus of a trade-off of bringing a child into one's household or family, Kearney said. That's an 18-year commitment, not just a 1-year cost. Beyond money. The issue may go beyond money. It's common for fertility to decline during economic uncertainty, but it usually rebounds once the shock ends, experts say. Surprisingly, birth rates did not recover after the Great Recession. That kind of caught a lot of demographers around the world flat-footed. Because it also didn't happen in other countries, said Karen Guzzo, director of the Carolina Population Center and a sociology professor at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So this kind of goes against a lot of demographic history that we have, which led people to start thinking, okay, what exactly might be happening? Even with stronger economic support, experts say America faces a deeper, more complex problem, a cultural shift in how people view parenthood itself. More and more young adults are kind of assuming that what matters for them is their education, their money, and especially their careers. And if you listen as well, more and more women are demanding that their counterparts participate in the raising of these children. Women are tired of simply being the ones that are doing the lion's share as far as the cost, the lion's share where it comes to the parenting and taking on all of the risk. There's going to have to definitely be a cultural shift. This is the reason why women are opting out. So I don't know if politics will ever fix this, because I do not see people addressing the sociological issues that go along with why women are opting out. Ladies, America needs us to have more babies. We need more taxpayers. We need people that are going to fund Social Security and Medicaid and all of these programs. We need laborers. People are retiring. Older folks are going to need people to take care of them later on. So they are really thinking you are valuable, and the babies that you have that we're just going to put to work, they are valuable because we need people. Basically, we need cogs in the machine. And for that, if you have a baby right now, you might be able to get $5,000, and maybe you can get some kind of $1,000 tax credit. Okay, bet. America needs us to have more children. Cool. Are we going to be able to actually get a home to raise these kids in? Let's check it out. Obviously, I know that these prices are going to vary depending on where you go in America, but it looks like around 400,000 to $500,000 as far as averages. We do know that there are $1 million homes and multi-million dollar homes, but $500,000. I'm wondering if you could actually afford $500,000 as far as a new home with that type of mortgage payment and a down payment. I'm sure that $5,000 could really help someone. I am not exactly sure, but could you afford a home? America wants us to have babies, where it's expensive to actually have babies here, especially right now where they're looking to strip social safety nets. They're looking to strip affordable healthcare options, but they still want people to have babies. The average cost of delivering a baby is about $18,000. And then depending on if it's a vaginal birth or C-section, it could be $15,000, it could be $26,000. And then that's if everything goes perfectly. If there's no medical interventions, if the baby doesn't need to go into the NICU, if the mother doesn't need to be in ICU for whatever reason, costs could continue to rack up. And they expect the woman, they want us to have babies, but they expect us to carry the burden of the costs. They need more babies, but they expect us to carry the burden of the costs. Okay, I'm totally sure that that makes sense to somebody. It costs a lot of money just to live on your own without kids. You add babies, you add children, you add multiple babies and multiple children, costs just keep on growing. And typically right now in the United States, it requires two incomes. But what do we do here in the United States? Childcare is inexpensive and is not always available. And we have a government currently that's rolling back programs and social safety nets that would actually help parents. Right now, the average cost of childcare can range anywhere from $400 to $1,500 a month, depending on where you are. And I have heard women, I haven't put my children in daycare, but I've heard women talk about that their childcare costs as much as a mortgage. Now, why in a country that wants us to have more babies hasn't childcare been subsidized? So they want us to have babies, but we're expected to pay our medical costs. We're expected to pay childcare costs. Obviously, we have to pay to live. We need more space. You can't just raise children in a one-bedroom apartment or a studio. You need to expand, and housing is expensive. To get a reliable car, because yes, people do need cars to get around. Average monthly car payment right now is over $700. That is expensive. And like I said before, that's the reason why we typically need two incomes here in the United States. But America needs more babies. They need to make sure that we are funding, Social Security, the taxes and all of that, even while some people are avoiding taxes. So are you going to go out there and have some kids, pay for labor, pay for the kids, pay for all the food, it just seems like we have to pay a lot to have babies, even though this country needs babies. So you would think that they would try to subsidize some of these costs. But no, you get to take on all of the costs, all of the risk. And that is not even talking about the political climate where things go wrong. If things go wrong, you miscarriage, you could go to jail for miscarrying. In Texas, a woman spent 5 months in jail. In Georgia, a woman was arrested because she had a miscarriage. Brittany Watts in Ohio had to go on trial for a miscarriage. So if everything goes right, it's expensive. But what about when things go wrong and you have a miscarriage and they are coming for you because your body rejected the fetus and it was an unviable pregnancy? Or what about when you live in a forced birther state and they decide that they're going to experiment with your body and see if you could be an incubator and see if they could grow a child in you while you're technically brain dead, like what is going on with Adriana Smith in Georgia? Or what about if you're having a medical emergency, it's an unviable pregnancy, and the hospital just won't clear your womb and you just expire from sepsis, like what happened in Texas a couple of times. And that's just what is reported because Texas and Georgia and some of these other states keep their maternal mortality rates under wraps because they don't really want people to know how many women are expiring because of these forced birther laws. What about that? So this country, because of its political climate, because of how much it costs, because of there are so many, the climate change, there are all different kinds of reasons to not have children, but they give you, or they're talking about a whole $5,000 payment or bonus. Why would any woman with sense want to have babies right now with this political climate and how expensive it is and how ridiculous our government is? We're literally living in a dystopia, but our government wants us, the women, the mothers, to subsidize all of the costs, take on all of the risk our lives and everything for a country that doesn't give a damn about the mothers or the children. Governments are eventually going to have to listen to women and what women need in order to safely want to have babies, in order to make it make sense financially to want to have babies, to make it make sense as far as if women actually feel comfortable with the political climate without our rights being stripped away, and where we'll know that we'll have the opportunity to make good medical choices with our doctors without having politicians in the hospital room. So I don't see that happening. I don't think that our government has the sense to step back and make things make sense. I don't think our government and these leaders have the sense to actually listen to what women are saying. Y'all can join the conversation though. Let me know what you think. Do the pros outweigh the cons? Do the costs outweigh the benefits? Let me know what your thoughts are on this.